Well, few injury updates. Ronnie DeGray had surgery last week, and everything went really well, according to the doctors. And talking with him yesterday, so we anticipate him being back at some point this season. 4 to 6 weeks is kind of the gauge, and we'll see where he's at after 4 weeks. TJ Williams is practicing with us, not given full clearance yet, but he is able to do about 65% of the things we're doing on the court. So he participates a little bit more in practice. And Zane, we're optimistic somewhere around the beginning of the new year, if not sooner. So I think at some point this year we'll be able to have a full roster, assuming everything else goes well, probably somewhere around the middle of January.
Yeah, Coach, could you kind of speak about just you knew the rebounding was going to get impacted without Ronnie. Is that just how this team is going to be, without him, or is this something you think the team can get a lot better at?
No, I mean, again, I know just the staff was telling me yesterday we play six top 100 teams in rebounding here coming up. I know Alcorn State's 98th. I know East Tennessee State's ninth. So I am aware that you have a couple of teams coming in who are really good. I think the 47.5 or the 46.5, the 47% rebounding rate, if you look at it, it's five of them were given up by the center. So that was a Quincy Ballard Mate matchup. And then four of them, so almost half of the 20-0 boards, was given up by their four. And so some of that was a four matchup. So I don't know, would Ronnie impact some of the four matchup? Yes, but I mean we played Mate and Quincy together and tried to negate some of that on account of just the laps we had defensively when Joy came in the game. So, does Ronnie make an impact? Yes, but it's not going to be that way moving forward. I mean, I go back to one, Florida is really good. One of the better teams I've seen the past 5 years. But I will tell you that, again, I think some of this has to do with just where we need to be physically, specifically our bigs.
With the offensive rebounding, Ronnie's so good on that end. Um, Coming in, you figure, Corey would be good, the two centers. Has that been a little disappointing how it's been without Ronnie, like the offensive rebounding?
No, simply because it's not a focus. I mean, we're more concerned about not giving up transition. So, I mean, you have crash guys. Obviously, taking away a crash guy doesn't help, and Ronnie's really good at it. But I mean, you're going to trade off. I mean, you could send all four guys to the glass, but you're willing to trade off transition. So this is one of these decisions that coaches make, and where do you want to be good at? And so we don't want to give up easy baskets, but there is a trade off. But to be honest with you, it's not a offensive rebounding is not a huge priority for us.
How have the players been reacting to the loss against Florida last week?
It happens. I mean, you play good teams. I've always thought that we were going to learn a lot about just who we are, the things that we were going to do. Florida is 1,000,000% Paul Mill's fault. So that's not on the players. I mean, we played Mate. It's 21-13. We realized we were giving up some points offensively and defensively. Just Joy's a little young right now to be thrown into that environment. We play the two bigs. It's 21-18. Mate makes both those plays, kick out three. Then he makes back to back, gets fouled, and makes both free throws, 21-18. But if you watch, here come 18 possessions of two guys who've never, like we've never worked on anything offensively with those two guys. We had Corey in foul trouble. We thought we'd go Mate and Quincy, and so it was that's 1,000,000% Paul Mill's fault. And so it's we came in and got a lot better Sunday on account of watching it, but I mean you chalk that up to the course of the year. I've been on this side. where teams take a lot. And specifically, when I was at ORU, we had a pretty ugly loss, and we went 29-2 the rest of the way. And you just had guys who really embraced that. So November's a month of learning, and you're going to throw your, as I told the staff, this is the wrong game to try to experiment with Quincy and Mate in together against a top 20 team, which I really consider a road game. So it is what it is, and you learn from it. But that's Paul Mills' fault. That's not the players' fault.
When you go through a loss like that as a team, are players just kind of excited to like kind of cleanse the palate in the next game, or just like get like something new, get off of that?
Well, I don't know if they're that quick. I think what you have to do is you got to go in and digest what just happened. Sometimes in the moment you really don't understand what just occurred. And again, our shot selection was bad, which led to bad defensive matchups. How we blitzed was bad, which led to them countering and kick out threes. Defending personnel was bad. So, from a flow, scheme, and personnel perspective, it is strike one, strike two, strike three. I think you come in, you watch it, and you get the takeaways. We haven't done this here before, but they had to watch the whole game. And so we watched the entire game, and I know it only probably says an hour and 18 on tip to finish. Film room takes a little bit longer than that. So it's a situation where you come in, you learn, and you move on. These are long years. And I mean, again, I thought Florida is one, they have size, two, they have multiple shooters, they had physicality, they had speed, all four check marks that you have to have that incorporate good basketball teams, they have. So we mark it up to Coach Mills screwing up, especially with the offensive flow. You figure out what you can do better, and you move on.
What were some of the main takeaways from that extended film review?
Yeah, I would tell you the biggest thing is our lack of physicality from the perimeter. Like, I mean, we need to, like, I can show you multiple clips of their guards moving our guards, and that kind of stuff can't happen. Like, we have to be a lot better than that from a perimeter standpoint. We get that our bigs are probably in a serious fight down there, and when you get that many people engaged, you have to get others in order to help out. So the lack of physicality by our guards was evident, and we have to be better at it. The other thing is just being dialed in on personnel. I think that their ability to shoot, specifically Clayton, I think when you look at his range, you can talk about this stuff, but if you look, it's not until the 5 minute mark that we play with a sense of urgency. We didn't set the tone in that game. We did not come out. We kind of thought, hey, here's some dare shots. Let's see if you can make them. And they obviously got comfortable and made a number of them in the second half. But I thought that tone was set early. And so I think physicality and personnel, like if we tell you that a guy has this kind of capability, there has to be more of an urgency, and it can't be after the fact.
Has there been an emphasis in practice on coming out and being the enforcer in those kind of games, especially after the Monmouth game where you guys came out gates kind of slow, and then has there been kind of an emphasis on coming out and setting the tone early with what you guys want to do offensively?
Yeah, more so defensively. Like, I mean, again, offensively, you just don't know game to game how things are going to go. But I think more so defensively. So yesterday was the first time that I mean, we practiced on Sunday, but yesterday was the first time that we were physical. And so I thought we got a lot out of yesterday. And I think your players understand it. I thought the energy yesterday was great. I thought the energy Sunday was great too. But that happens a lot when you have competitive people. Is you're going to come out, you're going to respond the right way.
How do the film sessions when it's a tough loss and you guys are I'm sure it's a harsh review. You're making them watch it back. What are the role of the players? Are they listening, or are they asking questions? How do the players kind of react to a film study like that?
Yeah, they probably only ask questions if they think there's an opportunity for questions to be answered. There wasn't Sunday. There wasn't an opportunity. It was we were pretty direct. But I mean, they're an older group. They understand it, but that was not an open forum.
Yeah.
So how do you treat the Minnesota game? Did you watch that video also?
We did, yeah. I mean, we watched that immediately after we played, so we went through that. You know, as I told our guys, I think what did we play at noon? So we met at 7. Watched the Minnesota. Normally, what happens for us is that there are things that are important to us. We rebound the ball, we take care of the ball, we share the ball, and so a lot of the clips have to do with that. The very first thing we show is rebounding and missed opportunities, good opportunities. So that usually takes somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 minutes. But all of that was done whenever we played Thursday night at 7 to 45. Then you jump into Florida, quick turnaround, and so yeah, all of that was done Thursday night after the game.
And with improving physicality with the guards, is that something that can be accomplished in a drill? Can you practice that, or is that more of a mindset with these guys that they're going to have to just be more physical in games, just have a better mindset about it?
Yeah, both. I mean, what we're not doing right now is sight checking, and so you see a lot of times the ball will go up and guys are just watching rather than sight checking and seeing if their guys are coming in. I mean, we've shown them enough NBA guys. I think LeBron James is the best at it, and we show them a lot of clips of high-level guys turn around, shot goes up, I sight check to see if my man's going to go in. And again, if my man isn't going in, I've got to go sandwich a big. I've got to be able to crash down over on that side and be able to do that. So, again, you just look at the physicality. Going back to, if you look at the first half, if you start botching your ball screen coverage, which we did, it led to opportunities for them to O-board. So that was one of the things, is just we botched too many pick and roll coverages. So that means, man, we don't switch out when we should. A guy has a runway. Well, this other guy is able to go downhill and retrieve O-boards. That happened a number of times in the first half. In the second half, I think the physicality going back, it is like you have to be physical, but what's the gauge at which to be physical? And I think that one of the things, calls that you may get in Charles Koch Arena, you're not getting on the road. You know, you're not getting at neutral sites. So there is a mindset that I've got to be more physical this game. Especially when you're dealing with neutral floor and Final Four referees. They're going to let a lot more stuff go. So I think it's a combination of the two.
Coach, the last time we met, you said November is a month of, to a certain extent, November being a month of growth.
Yeah.
What area of growth have you seen, the most in this team now that we're in December?
Yeah. The biggest thing, I think we've done a good job taking care of the ball. And so we have to, I think there's a lot of, you learn your team and then you grow as a team. You have to figure out where you're good at. So I think our shot selection is got to get better. And so I think you kind of are identifying how you're going to be. I told our staff yesterday, I don't want to get caught up in, man, let's make sure we have the physicality in order to beat Florida. Like, we got to make sure that we stay within the realm of who we are, and probably scheme a lot better in that game rather than trying to just, let's go play two bigs with downhill guys, Justin, Xavier, Harlan, and let's try to go get in there. Now you've got this clogged lane to where now we can't really finish at the level that we need to because there's too many bodies in there. So I think some of this is just figuring out a style that we think fits. But I go back to the biggest area of growth is we have to do a better job boxing out. There's games we've done it, there's games we haven't, and some of that is just based on your opponent. And we've got to be way more consistent. Again, we have a week here where we're going to play two very challenging teams. who do a good job of that. So we need to see strides. We need to see growth in that particular area.
Is there a difference in how some of the more experienced players, respond to a loss like that versus some of the younger players? Like, is it easier for some of the seniors to like kind of bounce back from that?
It's a great question. Monty Williams is a friend, longtime NBA coach right now, and I was talking to Monty yesterday, and he coaches high school right now, and he was talking about how precious high school kids are, and he was talking about how hardened NBA guys are. You kind of see that in who you got. When you have younger kids, I can't believe we are being attacked like this. I cannot believe we're being challenged at this particular level because they've actually never experienced that before. When you have more hardened guys and they've kind of been around the block a time or two and they understand things because they've been involved in those games and they get an idea about you have more hardened guys. And so your younger guys, 100%. They're like, what is he up there yelling at us for and slamming his hand on the table about? Whereas hardened guys, they get it. When you deal with college guys, you're kind of in that in-between area. But, I mean, it is interesting, especially when you look at the younger guys' faces versus the older guys. You realize that there's a lot of vulnerability with teenagers still, whereas your older guys kind of get it.
Real quick, I'm sure you haven't looked a ton at East Tennessee, but it looks like they're off to a pretty impressive start. Just if you could just give something on them and what kind of challenge that would be at Coke Arena. Like they're pretty legit mid-major, right?
I have zero idea, other than that they're ninth in offensive rebounding. I know they played James Madison tonight, but I mean, every bit of my attention has been how do we bounce back from and improve from the Florida game and getting ready for Alcorn.
Anything else? All right.
Thank you, guys.